Hello, everybody. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I'm Andy Signor. We got some breaking Marvel news last night that I wanted to take some time this morning to really digest and try and find as much as I could to attempt to answer how this happened and why this would have happened. For those of you that haven't heard already, director Scott Derrickson, who directed Doctor Strange, has just dropped out of Doctor Strange Part 2, the Multiverse of Madness. And this is pretty crazy. Let's go through the story. I'm going to break down sort of my thoughts. I did some research trying to figure out what we know so far, how everybody's reporting on this, so we can give you the most intel possible. But let's see what Variety, who first reported this, said initially. Scott Derrickson is stepping down as director of Marvel's Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Variety has learned. Studio confirmed his departure in a statement, attributing it to creative differences. Derrickson, who oversaw the first Doctor Strange, will remain as an executive producer. Marvel Studios and Scott Derrickson have amicably parted ways on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness due to creative differences, Marvel said in a statement to Variety. We remain grateful to Scott for his contributions to the MCU. Derrickson also released his own, saying it was mutual. Here's his tweet. Marvel and I have mutually agreed to part ways on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness due to creative differences. I am thankful for our collaboration and will remain on as an EP. Now, for those that don't understand, look, creative differences is a very polite way to fire somebody or to quit. That's sort of the attempt to sort of do so that way you as the fan don't know, did he quit? Was he fired? It doesn't matter. Both sides are agreeing, let's keep this quiet, let's be professional, and I'm sure that's why he still has his EP credit. One, because I'm sure he did a lot of work on this film, because that's not a lot of time left. He must have already planned out some sequences that they're probably already rendering, that they're probably going to use, and so they have to sort of throw him something, and that's going to financially give him incentive to keep his mouth shut if he's unhappy with the way Disney overlords may have been demanding certain things, which I'll get into sort of the reasons of how this could have happened. But creative differences typically is that. It's a filmmaker in a studio mutually, respectfully agreeing, let's not trash each other, let's not say what happened, let's just agree it's not working, see you later. But typically something clearly happened. Something must have happened because their creative visions are no longer in sync. And that means Disney is not allowing Scott to do his creative vision. And Scott either had it enough and decided to walk and say, you know what, I can't do this anymore, which is a pretty big card to play. And it's one that directors rarely want to do because it can screw you up in this industry. But Scott's made a lot of great films. I think he clearly, if you ever follow him, and I have followed him on Twitter, he's a good guy. He stands by what he believes in. If you ask anybody who knows him, he's a really, really sweet guy. So supportive guy. So I think this must have gotten too much to bear. And he decided to realize, this isn't my movie anymore. This isn't the vision I have. I don't want to be a part of this. Or Kevin Feige was like, dude, you got to come in line and follow what we're doing. This is leading up to our Disney Plus show. This is imperative that we line this up, and it can't be as horror as you wanted. It's a family film too. I'm sure there was just a lot of this happening, and it's a very tough call for both parties because I'm sure both parties are bummed. This doesn't look good for Marvel. Kevin Feige does not want to lose really talented directors and seem like it's a place that creative directors can't work freely, right? And then Scott Derrickson doesn't want to walk off and seem like he's being difficult. So this is a really tough one to sort of bog your head around. So let's go through sort of some of the things, rewind. I mean, also, it's worth noticing that this isn't, or mentioning rather, this isn't the first thing that happened. Also yesterday, the Lizzie McGuire creator was fired, seemingly, from the Disney Plus reboot that they're doing. I don't watch the show, but the creator of it, Terry Minsky, stepped down as showrunner. And Disney spokesman said fans have a sentimental attachment to Lizzie McGuire and high expectations for a new series. A Disney spokesman tells TV Line, after filming 2 episodes, we concluded that we need to move in a different creative direction and are putting a new lens on the series. Minsky, who is also attached to Rebel's executive producer, it's unclear if she will continue that role. Search for new showrunners underway, and now apparently it's been shut down. Look, when you want to see the Lizzie McGuire reboot, you want to see it with its original creator. I'm sorry. I want to make sure she's involved. She's approving it. And if she's not, that's a bad sign. If she was fired, I don't care. It's her show. It's her thing. Either figure out a way to work together or just don't make it. But you did. And the fans, I would think, would rather see the original creator. Everybody involved probably would as well, potentially, unless everyone was fighting with her. But this is troubling. So this and Scott both just showing Disney is very clearly follow in line. We decide what the vision is. If you don't follow in line, goodbye, creative differences. So Let's rewind and focus on Scott's story here, because this all started back in July of 2019, where he announced at Comic-Con, May 2021, Scary MCU, Doctor Strange, and the Multiverse of Madness. In fact, here he is at Comic-Con setting this up.
I mean, what excites me about Doctor Strange is what made him great in the comics, that he doesn't fight villains from this Earth or even from this universe, but from the multiverse and from other dimensions. So you get into all kinds of psychedelic weirdness, which this movie is going to. But when I came and talked to Kevin about doing a sequel, I said I don't want to do just another sequel to do a sequel. If I'm going to do it, it has to go into the territory that drew me into the Doctor Strange comics in the first place, which is how they dipped into the gothic and the horror and the horrific, and we're going to make the first scary MCU film.
And the fans applauded, and everyone seemed to be on board. Woohoo! The first scary from the guy who made Sinister and The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Fantastic. Because I like Scott Derrickson. I like his films. I think Doctor Strange was good. It was a very good. It was a hard character to introduce and to do right. And I think now that we've learned the character, this was his opportunity to really shine with the character and make something that I think would have been even better, similar to Thor Ragnarok. And so I'm disappointed that Scott doesn't get to do that. It's sad. And so for him to finally be able to come back with this character he loves and then introduce the horror, which he's so good at, I got to be honest, as a fan, I'm a little worried. How far could these creative differences been that Feige's like, no, you're wrong, Scott Derrickson, you don't know what we're doing. But it's troubling. So I don't know. Marvel's in a tough spot right now. The Disney Plus shows, everything, they got to go a certain way. I understand Kevin Feige's got to rule it with an iron fist, or an infinity glove, I guess would have been a better equation there. But everything seemed to be on track. Everyone seemed to be aligned. They were making a scary horror movie, and then suddenly they weren't. This was back in December, at the end of this year, at an NYF, a New York Festival Academy or something. New York Film Academy screening.
And
this
Comic-Con
guy
this
asked,
year, when it was announced that Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was going to be kind of a horror movie. What other genres do you want to explore in the upcoming Marvel movies?
It's a good question, because this is clearly going to set the tone for this is where I feel like this is clearly where something went wrong, because he was getting sick of this. It's a horror movie. It's a horror movie. And Kevin's like, nope. Let me clarify. Thank you.
There are lots, and it's sometimes too simplistic to just call it one movie. You know, Shang-Chi is going to be so much more than a kung fu movie, but it has elements of that, which is we're excited about. Multiverse of Madness is the greatest title we've ever come up with, by the way, which is one thing that's exciting about it. And I wouldn't necessarily say that's a horror film, but it is, as Scott Derrickson, our director, has pitched it. It'll be a big MCU film with scary sequences in it. The way, when I was a kid in the 80s, Spielberg did an amazing job. There are horrifying sequences in Raiders that I would say when I was a little kid and do this when their faces melted. Or Temple of Doom, of course, or Gremlins, or Poltergeist. These are the movies that invented the PG-13 rating, by the way. They were PG, and then they were like, we need another. But that's fun. It's fun to be scared in that way, and not a horrific, torturous way, but in a way that is legitimately scary, because Scott Derrickson's quite good at that, but scary in the service of an exhilarating emotion. And there are lots of other ones that I don't want to say too much, because it then will indicate future things we're doing. But I always say I don't believe in the comic book genre any more than I believe in a genre based on novels. You wouldn't say, I make movies based on novels. You go, well, what is it? What's the novel? People who don't read comic books perhaps see the colors and the powers and
we get where he's going, but so he doesn't want to call it one genre. And I respect that to an extent. You also got to know Kevin Feige hates doing these interviews. He hates them. He does them because he has to, and he'll do it, but he hates being on camera. So look, this is an instance where he took charge and he sort of reset what it was, and I can see what he's saying. Maybe I'm overthinking this one, but he wanted to make it clear, like, this isn't a horror movie. And to be fair, Scott didn't call it a horror movie. Scott called it a scary movie, which is what Kevin's calling it too. But it seems like that's clearly where the line was. I can only assume where the line was being drawn potentially, if we're going to ask the questions of why. The horror aspect is, to me, and for several other people I've been talking to in the industry, et cetera, has to be part of it. Scott, I'm sure, wants to do scary sequences, and I'm sure for a Disney movie, that's hard to push the boundaries of, because you got a lot of Disney overlords like, that's too scary. And that's why they made Indiana Jones different, because they're like, whoa, this is too much. And then that's almost hard for an RPG-13 sometimes, some of those things. So I think that's a clear assumption that's fair to make, that the horror element must have been a bone of contention for them too. Again, we're speculating here, but judging by these sort of back-to-back clips, it seems crazy. It seems likely that they wouldn't necessarily agree on how scary ones can be. And I think Kevin's short-sighted to say that a horror film has to be torturous, and sort of the words he was using. Horror films can be scary. Without being torturous. Look at like A Quiet Place, PG-13, I believe too. There's a lot of PG-13 horror movies that actually can still be really terrifying and scary and mess with your mind versus just show you gore. And I don't think Scott Derrickson's all about gore. He's about scares. So this is a weird discontent, and it was weird for Kevin to sort of have to clarify, no, it's not a horror movie. He could have said it in a way that was like, yeah, it depends how you defend a horror movie. We're going to do a lot of scares. I'm excited for what Scott's doing. It didn't seem like he was defending Scott. It seemed like he was correcting Scott. It's just the way I saw it, whether he meant it that way or not. That's how I took that. So the horror aspect of it, and sort of the back and forth vibes of what that means tonally from Scott's pitch to what Kevin's clearly agreed to. That's clearly reason one of why this is going south. The other one is the release date. Obviously, the film starts in May, and then it needs to be released next May. That's not a lot of time. And I imagine with the Multiverse of Madness, they're going to want a lot of visual effects and things in this movie to make it work. So that's another reason that could easily be the reason why this happened, of Scott saying, we need more time. I can't do this if you're going to rush me. And sort of that was also another reason of things piling up why I did it. And then I think the real reason is the connection to the Disney Plus shows. Now, look, I want to hype. No, before I do that, actually, I want to say Elizabeth Olsen came out as Scarlet Witch at the MCU, and I have her quote here. And they asked her, "What are you excited about? What can we say?" And she said, Kevin first said, "The events you will see in WandaVision will play and be reflected and directly tie into the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness." And the fans go, "Ooh!" And then Elizabeth Olsen sort of seconded it and said, "I'm excited to link one story on one medium and bring it into the future. We haven't done that, and that's super unique to the MCU. And I think that might be the future. This idea of connecting mediums, Disney Plus and movies." Look, this is a risky move by Feige, but clearly Disney's all in on this. They want the Disney Plus shows, they want the movies, they want MCU all over as much as they can get it, and they want it tomorrow. And so you got to remember, the last time Marvel sort of did a move like this was when they were pushing a director creatively to world build. It was Jon Favreau with Iron Man 2. And it was a huge misstep. Iron Man 2 was not a good film. And it was everybody trying to figure out, well, how do we do all this? How do we juggle all this? How do we introduce and make this feel like it's bigger? We're going to the Avengers. So, and the rumors I've heard is Favreau was very unhappy after the end of that. And just, that's why we never saw him again for a while. And I think they obviously made peace because they realized, damn, Iron Man is classic. And it was, but it seemed to me that Iron Man 2 was a lot of cooks in the kitchen insisting on things that needed to happen. And so it's hard to not see a connection to what could potentially be happening now with, well, no, Scarlet Witch is here, and you got to tie in Loki because that series also apparently is going to connect, and WandaVision, and this is already going to happen there. So you make sure the script connects to this. That's a headache for a filmmaker who wanted to come in and tell a standalone story about Doctor Strange and his cool multiverse when he's also got to then juggle 1,000 things that he's being told he has to do. I imagine that's not a very fun directing gig for Scott Derrickson. So you got to look at it in that perspective too. And then you got to say that's a pretty ballsy move to him to be like, no, I'm done. Because they do need Scott. Like, Scott has been the voice and the visionary for Doctor Strange. And he's back. And I think that's a win that they got him back. And to do this and for the horror genre, scary elements, what a perfect director to do it. And so him leaving it doesn't help the MCU at all. Putting a director this late in the game, that sucks for everybody involved. But good for Scott for having the backbone to sort of stand up, because I can't imagine that this didn't come up, that this standalone story that Scott probably wanted to tell was starting to get meddled down by, can't be too scary. It's got to connect to all these Disney Plus stuffs. Oh, plus you got to release it in a year. That's a lot for Scott to sort of be like, damn, what did I sign up for? Do I really want to do this? Do I really want to not follow my vision and deliver what I see and follow Disney's? It's hard to not see that in here. And look, that's where I'm stuck because there's a lot of things that you can sort of learn that this is potentially not a crazy thought. Because when you go and look actually at some of the replies that Scott Derrickson has said, because he hasn't said anything else, but you can go look at his replies. Duncan Jones, director, wish you the best on whatever you do next, mate. I know these decisions can keep a person up at nights. I'm sure it's a relief to have it decided. Well said, sir, and thank you. I mean, this is so much implication, right? This is implying that Scott's been having troubles. That Scott can't say that. Scott's under contract by like $1 billion lawsuits by Disney. He can't say anything. So this is, he can reply to a friend and say, thanks for this is very, still speculation, but you can read into that, guys. I mean, come on. Clearly, if this is well said, there were decisions that kept him up at night, of creative decisions of, is this what I want to have my name on? And ultimately, he didn't. And it's a relief to say, you know what? Good luck. See you later. Let's end amicably. Bye. Furthermore, look at this one. I love this. Phil Lord, you have joined a secret club of punk rockers, my friend. Godspeed and love. I mean, bravo. Phil Lord, Chris Miller, they did Solo and then got fired from Star Wars. So this secret club, man, God, how bad do you want to be a fly on that wall of the secret club of the directors going to get lunch? Talking about, man, what did Disney make you try and do? Wow, can you believe they made me try and do this? That's incredible. And this is the kind of stuff that's like only reaffirming my idea that this something else. There's more to this story. And then what's even more interesting is then as if we sort of move forward into the future, Jason Blum, he did this an hour ago. Jason Blum sent him an email, no subject, OMG. Because Jason Blum's like, you're a free agent right now? Let's make a movie. Let's make 10 horror movies. Just refreshing to make sure I haven't missed anything else on his timeline. But no, I think that's probably the last thing he said. But if you go through his replies, there's a lot of the things he's liked. Let's just say that. If you go through the things he's liked, he's obvious. It's a bummer, but as supportive, I can't wait to see the other thing. He's being very nice. I can't wait to see what he and his screenwriter do next. Is it selfish of me that I want somewhat relieved that this frees you to do something else? Again, these are the things he's liking. If you go through, there's just so much stuff that he's liking that just shows he's bummed. He's upset. Again, I'm reading a lot into this, but he's upset and he likes when people are sort of sticking up for him, and we should stick up for him because Disney has a lot of power, and this is a guy who I'm sure was very passionate about this character, who probably had a really badass vision. And you know what? It makes me sad when they don't let the creative person they hire have some more say for the sake of the world building. It's a tough place to be in. So look, that's what we got so far. I mean, why would Disney let him go? That's what I want to know. Why was it so important that, the world building and everything else, that you would rather have this potential PR nightmare of just like, oh, we had to let it go, another creative? Like, was it that bad? I don't know. I don't buy it. I don't see him as a diva on set, crazy yelling at people and demands that are outlandish. He clearly has a vision for the character, and Feige's like, no. And then Feige's saying no so hard that he's like, fine, we'll go publicly to war. See ya. Good luck. Oh yeah, we'll just shake hands and say creative differences. But Scott, and then I'm like, bravo, Scott Derrickson, because he's like, all right, I'll just go make my horror movies. I'd love to do those instead of be in this headache of trying to juggle all this Disney nonsense. That's just crazy. It's like Oscar Isaac has called them overlords. Like, there's a lot of people who seemingly don't want to work in this franchise machine anymore, and I think it's gonna eventually be problematic for Disney if they don't loosen the reins, and with all the money they are clearly gaining, have some filmmakers that you believe in take the shots. And if they mess up, you know what? They don't come back. It is what it is. You got someone to blame. Scott Derrickson's immensely talented horror film. You got a movie with horror elements that he built. He built that up with, I'm sure, a lot of other people, but his creative vision lifted Doctor Strange up. And now he has the chance to really play in that world, and he doesn't get to. It makes me sad. It makes me really sad that Disney doesn't trust its creatives and would want to go this far. And that EP credit is just Scott showing he's a professional. He's a good guy. He doesn't want to rock the boat. And you won't probably hear him, making complaints about things. But it's troublesome. It's troublesome to see Disney doing this to Lizzie McGuire and to Doctor Strange. This was the one movie I'm excited about. I'm glad he's still an EP because it means He's going to get paid. It means some of his ideas might still be on the table. So I don't want to just completely write off my endorsement of it, obviously. Let's see what happens. But anybody who comes in this late in the game, they're going to have a tough time making it their own movie. They're basically agreeing to follow Feige and whatever Feige's vision is. I don't see how any filmmaker could come in with be like, yeah, I love it. Let me see if I can do some rewrites and fix it a little bit. Not this. I don't know how you do that. How are you going to do that this far in the game? Minor stuff, maybe. But any director who takes over this gig is going to have to be someone who's like, yep, I'm down to play. I want to be in the Marvel Club. I want to get paid. Tell me what to do, Mr. Feige. This is sort of what's going to have to happen next. So it'll be interesting to see who takes the reins and who's going to want to take the reins knowing that people in town are going to know, oh, well, they're just agreeing to Disney. They'll follow the overlords. Who are the filmmakers that aren't following the overlords? That's what's interesting to me. Let's keep track of them. Remember, Patty Jenkins, right? Patty Jenkins got fired from Thor: The Dark World, and then Alan Taylor took it. It wasn't the greatest film. Alan Taylor then went on to make Terminator Genesis, so good for him. And then let's not forget Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright, Ant-Man. Man, I would have loved to see that. And no disrespect to Peyton Reed. I thought Peyton Reed did a pretty good job, and I liked Ant-Man and Wasp. So Peyton Reed stepped in and managed to sort of, I think, take some elements of Edgar Wright, but then keep it going. And Peyton Reed has played ball and clearly wants to be on that Marvel team. Patty Jenkins, though, went on to do Wonder Woman. So, look, I'm excited to see what Scott Derrickson does next. I think we should all support him. Go show him some love on Twitter. Go follow him because it takes guts to stand up to the big Disney machine and say, you know what? I'm good. Creative differences. I'm going to go make another movie that's my own original thought, and I'm not going to have to cling to a corporation. Man, serious guts. So Scott Derrickson, I applaud you. Good move. I got your back. I hope others do. Sounds like a lot of people do. Marvel, what are you doing? Be careful here. Stop doing this. Figure out how to keep your creatives excited. Why not give? You know what I'm saying? Why not? It's that far off that you couldn't give on this one, Feige? It's weird. You couldn't figure out how to keep Scott happy? Why can't you figure out how to keep him happy? What was so crazy about his ideas and his demands that we're like, no, too bad. Get out of here. We're not doing that. Gives me doubt. What do you guys think? Hit me up down below in the comments or on social media if you got any scoops. I'd love to talk about it. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, be sure to subscribe if you're a first-time viewer, join, or check out some of my other videos here. Thanks, everybody.